Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to say something about the Middle East conflict and the activities on our campuses. And it's been alluded to in some of the testimony as well this morning. We are approaching the first anniversary of the horrific attack by Hamas on Israel and the absolutely devastating war launched in Gaza following that. Regardless of anyone's views on the complex policy and history in the Middle East, we should all bemoan the tragic loss of civilian lives and hope for a ceasefire, the return of hostages, the beginning of rebuilding, and a lasting peace for the region. Calls for action from UH relating to this have come from all quarters. We have supporters of both Palestine and Israel urging actions, often in opposite directions. We received a specific set of demands to the board and the president from the Students and Faculty for Justice in Palestine at UH, or SFJP. We've received requests and recommendations from some of our Jewish students and faculty. We have heard from national groups, including the Anti-Defamation League, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and Hillel. And like numerous universities across the country, and this was publicly disclosed, we have received notice of a Title VI investigation initiated by the Office of Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Education. And Title VI is the federal code that prohibits discrimination based on race, color, national origin, or actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics. And these are complaints about anti-Semitism, primarily on U.S. campuses around the country. So I do appreciate all of those who call on university leadership to issue statements and take actions in support of their positions on the conflict, who want their university to stand up for what they believe. And as I have shared consistently for the past year, and I know frustratingly to many, my priority is our collective safety, health, well-being, and creating opportunities for learning within our university. To that end, I want to share some plans for the path forward, and I also want to respond to some of the calls for action which have been made publicly of the president and the board. I also need to note that the Office of Civil Rights has made its expectations as to what universities do very clear. They have publicized formal resolution agreements that they have entered into with other universities, most of which have faced challenges around this area greater than ours so far. So I have convened the offices and leaders with roles and responsibilities related to our work with Title VI, and we've met several times already. We do understand that we will need to update our policies and our practices to ensure appropriate and complete response to all complaints and allegations we receive. We will also need to engage in a substantial training initiative around our university to make sure people understand our policies and procedures. And I need to say that while the current focus and use of Title VI is relating to anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, and anti-Palestinian behaviors and allegations, we cannot forget that Hawaii, and therefore UH, we face many concerns by other groups relating to race, color, national origin, and actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics. So as we address Title VI, we need to think of all of our populations. Individual complaints do not characterize a full campus climate, so we do need to develop and administer a climate survey to better understand where we stand with all of our populations and use that survey and its results to improve and create a more positive climate for all of our students and employees. Manoa is one of the nation's leading Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, or TRHT, campuses, and we're actively using this TRHT framework to address healing across the campus. Multiple UH offices have already come together to create a series of seminars and workshops open to all across the university system. And just to give you a feel for them, the topics this semester include political conflict in and out of the classroom, understanding religious and worldview differences, healing in divided times, navigating difficult conversations, our shared humanity, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. And this programming builds on initial work last academic year, including teaching in troubled times, Maluhia, Malama, and safety, and the use of Pilina circles to heal disconnections. Our campus programming absolutely must continue to strengthen the ability of our entire community to do our parts to foster climates for learning, living, and working that are welcoming, respectful, and free of discrimination. We need a deep appreciation of the need for our instructors to foster classroom environments that encourage the free exchange of ideas, even and perhaps especially regarding challenging topics, for fair and open and respectful consideration by all. So consistent with our focus on our community, we respectfully respond to specific demands and requests from the SFJP group and others as follows. So first, divestment. Regents policies guide our UH endowment investments, and after discussion with Board of Regents leadership, the demand to divest from all companies and institutions that are complicit in the Zionist occupation, apartheid, and genocide of the Palestinian people, including weapons, tech, and surveillance, and construction companies. That matter will not be taken up by the board at this time, given other priorities. Next, transparency. UH is committed to and does provide full transparency with our investments and our grants. Our investments are reported on regularly and publicly to the Board of Regents with detailed information available in the public BOR meeting materials. Information about grants to UH, including UARC task orders, is available with a UH logon through online report options at the ORS webpage. In addition, we do have an internal team that's diligently working to a more involved UIP request relating to the UARC. However, I do need to say that donations and gifts to the UH Foundation are private. Donors are entitled to that, and that is the case at nearly all universities across the country. We've also had calls for an academic boycott. UH stands committed to academic freedom. And UH leadership does not support an institutional academic boycott of Israel or anyone else as a strategy for political action. Fundamentally, we believe that willing exchanges among students and faculty from different places increases learning and understanding among peoples and can contribute to a more peaceful planet. But UH also does not prohibit engagement in such boycotts by those who choose to do so. Engaging or not engaging with Israel or any other country is a matter of individual choice. SFJP also called on UH to withdraw from the agreement between the state of Hawaii and Israel that was entered into a few years ago. UH is not a party to that agreement. I did receive a separate request for information, and I will respond to that directly as well. There have been several requests for statements about the Middle East to take positions. As a general practice, that is not something UH does. We do stand for peace and the dignity of all human beings, but taking more specific positions on political matters across the world, particularly where there is not agreement within our campus communities, just would not contribute to the overall safety, health, and well-being of our entire university community, which is our priority. Some have asked for affirmation of their freedom to protest and to speak without retaliation. And as we have said many times, UH stands firmly committed to the First Amendment and to academic freedom. We have not and will not suppress constitutionally protected free speech. And we are actually proud of our decades-long history of peaceful and non-disruptive protest at UH that allows instruction to continue and our activity and scholarship to continue. The conundrum, of course, is the conflict between the complete right to free expression and the harm caused to others by free speech that can be hateful. Not everything that can be legally said should be said, and we are working to cultivate a campus community that cares for one another in this place, a campus with shared aloha. So while we cannot legally prohibit hateful speech, we can encourage restraint and try to mitigate the damage that legal speech can cause to safety, health, and well-being. SFJP also opposes the UARC and asked the board to reject it. Obviously, the subject of much testimony this morning. I will note that the renewal was purposely delayed until this fall and not taken up this summer, specifically to ensure that students and faculty could provide their input to the BOR, as we have heard this morning and several weeks ago as well. And it was purposely not put on the consent agenda like other indemnification requests, including one today, in order to provide for separate consideration by the Board of Regents. As noted in the public informational briefing earlier this month, where we announced that this would take place at this meeting, the UARC contract is simply another contract vehicle that individual investigators can choose to utilize or not as they exercise their academic freedom to engage with the Department of Defense or not. As noted then, these projects do serve Hawaii and beyond, and the public testimony that you have heard at these last two meetings is part of the process for your consideration before the vote later today. As I approach the end, multiple requests have also been made for specific faculty hires at Manoa, some to support specific positions and priorities. The campus does have a very well-articulated process for entertaining requests for faculty hires that advance strategic priorities and the shifts in student needs that occur as we watch where our student body chooses to study. Proponents of specific hires should advance those requests through their deans for consideration by the campus. And finally, special scholarships have been requested, in this case for students from Gaza. UH does not create scholarship programs using state general funds or UH student tuition for students from specific regions suffering from warfare, famine, or other hardships, whether Gaza, Ukraine, Afghanistan, or anywhere else. We do welcome contributions from individuals or groups who do want to support such students to pursue a great education here at any UH campus. So apologies for the length of the statement. Putting this item explicitly on the agenda as part of the president's report was intended to enable public testimony or attention on a matter that we know to be of importance to many, and to provide a public response in a comprehensive manner to the diverse inputs received, many of which have also been very public.